Yay Media Group.
Because we didn't trash dressing rooms the way boy bands did,
right.
We would sometimes nudge a little bowl of nuts and just off the side table and watch it spill. And then we would clean it up. Then we would clean it up. Quickly clean it up.
Hey dude, I think the 90s are calling.
Hello and welcome back to Hey Dude, the 90s Called podcast. I am David Lasher and I am here with my beautiful co-host Christine Taylor.
Hi, David.
Hi. How are you?
We're partners in nostalgia. Remember?
Oh my gosh. I forgot our trademark line.
It's so trademark.
Should we do it again?
No, we don't need to do it again. This is even funnier. It's better
Partner
that we just...
in nostalgia.
It's
what
good
it
to
is?
remind everyone that we're partners in nostalgia, right?
Christine, I'll tell you, I had a quick lunch meeting earlier and it was at an Indian restaurant and I've never had Indian food. And the person I was with ordered some stuff, a tiki masala, which was delicious, but it was one of the spiciest things I've ever eaten.
Oh my God.
And I walk in and I just told Riley, I said, did you ever see Along Came Polly?
That's why I laughed when you said that.
I honestly feel like Ben, where I'm like sweating. I might have to run to the bathroom. You'll have to excuse me.
As soon as you said we went to an Indian restaurant, I didn't even know what your story was. I just started to laugh because I knew where you were going with it. Because
my hands are sweaty.
It's the amount of sweat that they give him in the movie too, in Along Came Polly, and also the scene that follows, of course, the classic
in the bathroom. Yeah, it's one of the funniest sequences ever,
with lots of added sound effects for humor, for the humor of it all,
and
but
the desperation of maybe I could still hide this.
With no toilet paper left. It's always it never gets old. But I don't know. I can't handle spicy food at all. Like I don't know how people do Hot Ones, the show.
Oh,
Ben did it.
I couldn't do it.
And I watched Ben do it and I was like, since when do you tolerate spicy food this way?
How did he? He went all the way up to the... He went
all the way to the end. He started to get his nose started running towards the last couple. But the first ones were so simple for him, no reaction, which is so crazy because it's not like he particularly likes spicy food. He just didn't have a crazy reaction but by the end, it was you started to see the nose running and I think what starts to happen to people, why the show is so good, is it people forget what the question even is because they're wondering what's happening to their body physiologically.
Yeah, there's
wait,
fluids coming out.
Yeah, things are happening out of my control. And what was the question again about Owen Wilson or what? It's so funny.
That show is funny. But I one time ate there was a jalapeno in my hand that I had eaten and I started sweating. I rubbed my eyes and all of a sudden, have you ever rubbed your eyes after holding a jalapeno?
No.
It is the worst burning pain. My eyes swelled up. I started crying. I was like a mess, a physical mess from the spice.
So I didn't realize you could actually get, it makes sense.
If you touch an open jalapeno pepper, do not rub your eye. Don't touch your eyes until you wash your hands.
That's the rule
Personal experience.
You guys learn something new every week here.
Yeah, this is educational.
This is educational. David, do you remember in the 90s when the movie Newsies was being cast? I'm sure you auditioned for it.
I definitely read for that.
Yes, because I read for it too, and you had to bring in a song to sing because it's a musical, right? And they said, no, we don't want musical theater music. We want you to sing a contemporary song. And I sang Eternal Flame.
Oh, yes.
And
a great ballad.
I remember I was so nervous. And it was...
Close your eyes.
Yes, exactly. That was my song choice for Newsies. I did not get cast.
But I'm sure you crushed it.
Oh, I don't think I did. I think not even close. And so on that note, we have an incredible guest today. It really just doesn't need any introduction. Susanna Hoffs, lead singer of the Bangles, dear friend of mine. I cannot wait to talk to her. So let's bring Sue in. you, of course, had such a burst in the 80s, but have continued to sustain your songs still. You're making albums, you're writing novels, you're doing so much. So I was like, I have to have you on. And David and I always joke that half of our guests that we have on are our friends that we can't connect with in person, but we get to do it here. And our audience gets to listen on our little
this is so fun
catch-ups. So
thank you for inviting me in.
Thank you for finding time.
The teenage me is totally flipping out right now.
Right?
It's like I was just listening to your music and it was like, it's in my DNA already, you know, it brings me right back. I don't know. Christine, where do you want to start? I'm a little starstruck.
I know. Well, that's the way I felt. So let me just start by my first introduction to Susanna Hoffs. I mean, aside from knowing who you were and being such a fan of not only your music, but I told you this when I met you. So Susanna is married to director Jay Roach, who directed the first two Meet the Parents movies, right?
Yeah,
and has produced the others, and is producing the new one, and director of many things. But that was my first introduction, was to Jay Roach, and then someone's like, "You know who Jay's married to?" Susanna Hoffs, and I was like, "What?" I love her. And not only do I love her music, I remember the first time I met you, I told you I was a fan of a movie you did in the 80s as an actor.
Oh my God. Yeah. The All-Nighter.
Called The All-Nighter, directed by your mom, right? Am I right?
You're the one person.
I'm the one person who saw it.
Wait, I need to hear about that. What is the All-Nighter?
It was a movie that was made in 1986. It was like the era when I was a Bangle.
Yeah.
The first iteration of the Bangles. And there was this little gap between tours because we were continuously on the road. They worked us hard. And my mom and a friend of hers had written this low budget sort of beach blanket bingo movie, and Joan Cusack was in it.
Yes.
And Dee Pfeiffer, who was Michelle Pfeiffer's younger sister. Yep. And it was filmed in like 3 weeks or so. It was a very quick shoot. It was very low budget. And Christine, my goal in life is to go back into the movie and redub all the dialogue and make it better. Maybe you could join me in that endeavor. Unless you want to keep the All-Nighter as is.
Well, I want to keep it as is, but I'd like to go back to all of my own things and do that as well. And redubs and just maybe make some different choices. Right.
Yeah. But it was quite something. I was always so like moved that you liked that movie.
I mean, not only for any of our listeners, fans of Sue, go find this movie because it is so much fun. I mean, it's definitely so 80s, and it was California, and I lived on the East Coast in Pennsylvania. Yeah. And it felt so romanticized to me. And it was you, and I was such a fan of your music. And by the way, the lead guy in it, John Terlesky, who was shirtless through most of the movie because he plays like the surfer dude, was like so hot. And you two together,
settled down, Christine.
I know. Wow. Guys, I was like 16 years old, and like I was obsessed with this movie. And by the way, you still look the same age as you did in that movie.
Oh my gosh,
I've said that to you forever. You genuinely, truly do not age. Like you are your fountain of youth, and I know it's through all of just the way you live your life and through the art and everything you do keeps you so young. So my first introduction to you was as Jay's wife on one of the events that we were, and it was just like love at first sight. Both of you, I just feel like we all got to spend so much time together during the shooting of that movie and got so close. And your boys were so little at the time.
I know they were so little,
but you were like this. You were so accessible and normal and funny and cool. And I was like, this is an icon, and we're hanging out with Susanna Hoffs.
Well, I felt the same way with you and Ben, really, it was such heady time, such a fun time when those movies were happening.
Right.
And, so I know there's a new one in the works.
I know. Well, all right. So we'll get to all of that fun stuff, but you got to tell, because I don't even know that I know the full story of like how it all started for you. Because you're a California native, right? Born and raised in LA.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, my obsession with music was because my mom would drive my brothers and me around in the station wagon, and she loved music. And I would sing along. I would learn like the roadmap of all the songs from the 60s that were happening. Everything from like the Dionne Warwick records that Burt Bacharach and Hal David produced, and Jackie DeShannon and all the cool bands. Obviously, the Beatles were a huge influence on me. And luckily, a friend of my mom's in the 60s worked at Capitol Records, and she would bring extra copies of the albums to give to my family. So I grew up singing along to music in the backseat of the station wagon, or listening over and over and over again and studying those Beatles records without even knowing that I was studying them. I was kind of like letting them into my DNA and into my life in a kind of way that I never gave up. Like, I'm so grateful to my mom for loving music and exposing me and my brothers to it. Yeah.
And when did you put a guitar in your hand? Did you like take lessons?
Okay. Yeah. Good question. So there's a picture of me in 1967. It even has like in the old photos when you're printed, it would have the date on it.
Yeah.
And my uncle was a musician, my mother's youngest brother, and he built guitars. He worked at a guitar shop in Santa Monica called McCabe's, and he built dulcimers, and he worked on guitars. And he put the guitar in my hands and taught me like the 4 different chords. And it just went from there. Once you have those 4 chords, you can do anything. So that's how it started for me. But music really, it was almost like witchcraft or something, but in the best possible sense. It would like kind of cast a spell over me. And I would learn the songs, and I lived for hearing music. So that's one thing that's actually never changed in my life. I have a song for every emotion that I can put on or play if it's just for my own wanting to hear it, or I love sharing my playlists with people. And I keep learning every day like I just suddenly got heavily into Radiohead. I always loved them, but now I want to learn all the songs. Like I just, like it'll just get like in a trance. Like I'll go on a total deep dive of a band and want to learn what they do and why music matters to people. Why does it lift them up in a certain way or console them in a certain way? It's like this. It's just like the greatest gift, if you're a music lover, to be able to surround yourself with music. So it kind of went from there.
And
film was my next love.
Well,
the cool thing about my mom and dad was that because my dad was a psychiatrist, he always felt he could explain anything if we didn't understand. So he literally took us to see, Bonnie and Clyde when it came out, which had a lot of nuanced sex and violence.
Right.
But he took us to see, what was it? Oh my God, now I'm spacing out. It'll come to me. But like movies that were definitely like R-rated movies. Right. And he would explain things to us. Like he would draw little anatomy pictures because he was a medical doctor, but he chose to have his specialty be in psychiatry. My parents were very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very cool. And so I'm really grateful for that because they never shamed us. They were like very open. They were almost like hippies, but it was pre-hippies. It was not, I don't even know they were like intellectuals. That's what it was. They were like intellectuals who made this decision, like, we're not going to lie to our kids. We're going to be honest with them. And if they have a question, we're going to answer it.
See,
I'm very grateful.
I mean, that is like, especially at that period of time.
I know.
unheard of. Unheard of. There's parents wanting to protect their kid. We're going to protect them from that. We're not going to tell them. We're not going to scare them. So to live in reality, that's what I remember you even talking about when you talked about when we got to know each other, and you would talk about your dad and why, therapy was something that was so just accessible to you and easy to talk about because you lived it in your house. And for so long, for so many people, there was such a stigma around that of going into psychotherapy or you know what I mean?
And I did serious psychotherapy, on the couch, multi-days in a week. So that it really did help me. And I kind of reunited many, many decades later with my therapist. And we had a few interesting sessions together just as me, not a 20-something girl who was in a band and was on the road, and it was also stressful and it was so competitive. And, those were the things I was grappling with then. And also that was the period of the Bangles, was also the period before I met Jay, but when my dating life was so crazy.
Right. Wait, so the Bangles, that incarnation of that did not happen until after you graduated college?
Yeah, I graduated college, and the first person that I attempted a band with was my brother's best friend, who was also a friend of mine, but it was tricky because of the dynamic between him and my brother being best friends. It was David Roback, who started the band Mazzy Star, if you're aware of that band.
Yes.
And our first recordings were in the garage, because when I came back from UC Berkeley, I just decided to take over the garage and make a cool,
jam room
apartment for myself. So I had a mattress.
Garage band.
It fits perfectly. Yeah. So I worked with David.
Cave.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a standee from a record store of Debbie Harry in a pink dress, and I had cool posters in there, and I had a mattress on a little elevated platform, and it had everything I needed. It wasn't fancy by any stretch, but that's where, through an ad in the newspaper, I linked up with Vicki Peterson, and her sister Debbie, who played drums, and Vicki played lead guitar, and they came over to the garage, and that's where the Bangles were born. And we decided to be a band after jamming for 2 hours on a particular day. it was kind of a remarkably fast thing.
Wait, what music did you play in those 2 hours?
Well, they taught me. So first of all, I was so not used to dealing with gear, and they had been in high school bands, and they'd played out, they'd done cover band stuff. And they showed me how to put a microphone on a stand. They came with a little bit of gear that I didn't have.
Right.
And I went up to the mic and I kind of went blew on it, and they just started laughing this girl knows nothing. But I was a fast learner. And by the end of the day, they taught me the Jefferson Airplane song, White Rabbit, which is only 2 chords. It seems very complicated because it's a weird chord progression. And my mom had a house guest in the house, and they could hear us performing. And they were so amazed that it sounded like a band on that first day, within an hour or 2 of just the 3 of us in the garage. And I always likened it we could have just jumped in their station wagon, which they rode up in a station wagon, and gone to a Vegas wedding chapel and married each other. You know what I mean? It's a weird analogy, but it was that fast that was okay, we're shaking on it. I've only met you for 2 hours, but I'm going to be in a band with you for decades. It was weird.
Magic.
It was weird. But it was like when I met Jay too. Some things in my life, the way the Bangles came together in the garage that day. And then when I went on I was on a blind date, which was meant to be a dinner party, but the people who put it on didn't show up. So it was me, Jay, and the other 2 bachelors. But it was obvious by the end of the night. I got in my car and drove home, and I had a hardwired phone in my BMW. Right. I loved that BMW. It was the first car I finally made enough money to buy a car.
Buy your
and it was
car,
this
right.
my white BMW 325 from the 80s. And I called my mom and I said, I just have a feeling about this guy, Jay Roach. And it turned out to be true. He, by the way, just, ghosted me immediately.
Stop.
And after that,
No.
he didn't believe that that I could have felt that way about him that quick.
Right.
So he at first, but then I finally, the guy who had been put together the dinner party just called Jay up and said, dude, what are you doing? She's wondering where you disappeared to. She really likes you. So then
why was he thought she's a rock star. She's unattainable.
Right. He didn't know I'm like this normal, like this girl who just loves movies and I love music and we like the same things and I just who
with
I
a
was,
sense of humor and artsy and fun and normal and and he just saw you as it's too much for me. And Jay is so, I mean, when you first meet Jay, I feel like once you know him, but when you first meet Jay, I mean, he's much more quiet than you. I could understand him, feeling like, what is she really like? Because he's like more reserved and gentle,
I think that was what I needed, though, in a way. I think that in a way, the fact that we're opposites,
right,
in many ways, it made it work because I have a different way that I process information and how the things I love are really important to me in terms of like in the arts, we bonded so much over movies. So we went to these various movies that we just went on. The first 3 dates were all movies.
Oh, well, now you have to tell us the movies that you bonded over.
One was they were both like these full of sexual repression and about monks. Like there was one at play at the field of the, oh my God.
There's Play in the Fields of the Lord or something.
Yeah, right, that one. And then there was another one about, like repressed priests or something. It was the other one. Jay, I might, when I can get the answer, Jay might remember the name of the other one, but it was like a weird thematic thing that we kept going to these movies about sexual repression of priests.
My God.
It was so bizarre. But I loved both the movies and I had such a great time with him, but he really did need a nudge because he wasn't convinced that this girl who'd been in this band, that it would work. But I never lost faith in it. And here I am 30 plus years later,
That's an understatement.
I'll just say,
I
think every man needs a little nudge.
A nudge.
Rock star or no rock star.
Okay. Yeah, true.
Exactly.
I think sometimes because, it's sort of a cliche in a weird way that that it might be the other way around, that the man's like wanting to whisk her off her feet. But in the case of, the era that I grew up in, it was often the other way around. Like I had to be, out front kind of advocating for it,
Yeah. Men don't know what's good for them relationship wise until they meet the right girl who just shows them this is what's happening. Right. This is what's best for you.
This is your path.
Here's your path. It's going to be marriage, children, houses, grandchildren.
Lots of movies, lots of music. Yes.
Yeah, it must be overwhelming to, the guys who just don't know how to process all that. Like all the good stuff though, really, in a way, once you're partnered up with somebody, it's great.
Let's go back. The three of you knew we were going to be a band after 2 hours.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, let's just start recording. Let's start writing. Just the process began at that point.
Pretty much. So we had to find a bass player, and our first bass player, we met also through the recycler throwaway paper in LA. And that was a really wonderful woman that I love and am friends with all these years, even though she didn't end up being the bass player that ended up being during the Sony era making all those records. But her name was Annette Zelinskis, and she was a Valley girl. And her mom taught at the Brentwood School, I think, sort of near West LA. And she really had no idea how to play bass, but I went with her.
Wait, isn't that a prerequisite for a bass player?
One would think. I took her to a music store and I helped her pick out a really cool vintage Vox bass, which Brian Jones had played in the Stones, Rolling Stones, when he was a member of the Stones. And we just kind of went from there. And she was, she actually, she was the one who decided to move on and not be in the band. But at the same time, we knew that she wasn't completely committed because she really wanted to be a singer, sort of singer-songwriter artist herself. Mm-hmm. So right around the time the record companies started realizing that we were a band they might want to sign. The truth is, none of them wanted to sign us. We were on the indie music scene for several years before we caught the attention of a record company.
So just playing local LA clubs and
absolutely the Whiskey, all the places
Troubadour.
on the Troubadour, and we were always the opening band to boy bands. Always. Oh. It was like very, very retro, not cool. Like, you guys are the girl band, we're putting you on the worst slot in the bill. But it was okay. It was okay. It was fun. We were in our 20s. It was so fun to play the Whiskey A Go-Go. We got to know all of these indie musicians, and we're still friends with many of them to this day. And it was a really festive way to go through your 20s. It was music. It was the beginning of a little bit of touring. Well, it ended up being a lot of touring for the Bangles. Once the band got signed to Columbia Records, then we were on the road continuously until like the end of the 80s.
I mean,
when we finally kind of broke up, because it was like living in a pressure cooker, sort of, and you have no autonomy. You're trying your best to hang on to like a romantic partner, but you're on the road half the year. So, I mean, I found a log from the old Filofaxes that I kept that had, and because I was very afraid of flying back then, I logged every takeoff and landing. And it was like I had gotten to like 100 in a period of a year or something. Like, we were on the road nonstop. It was very hard to have, relationships with somebody, you just leave them for months at a time. Like it was great, but a little bit challenging.
I mean, I feel like that's been a theme for any of the musicians that we've had on that had great success, like you, in the 90s or the 80s or whenever. It just from the moment the success part happened and the touring started, the stories are very similar, where at a certain point the band is like, we gotta sit. Everyone's just telling us where to be, when we're going to be. Then we're shooting promos. Then we're learning this and this and going here and promoting and that. And like at a certain point, there needs to be that moment where everyone's like, we have to stop. Like otherwise, there's no moment to catch our breath.
I know, and it's like it's weird that I could even remember like where the number of the hotel room I was supposed to be in. Like now I'd be completely discombobulated, like the roteness of it, you know?
Right.
But what about being on stage? Has to be the most incredible experience, especially like after the Different Light album and those songs that probably the audience was like singing along with you, and you arrive in a city in another country and everyone knows the music that you wrote back in your house. It's like, it's got to be a rush.
It's a rush. I mean, I love playing live. I'm overdue to like go to Largo or McCabe's or somewhere local and just, get on stage and play. But it was so whirlwind, it was like, was kind of like, I could picture like a hotel door opening, closing, sleeping on a bus overnight and dragging your ass into the hotel. What room is it? How we sort of became conditioned to it.
Yeah, and it's not, everyone thinks it sounds so glamorous. They're touring,
Oh, it's very
but it's
unglamorous.
so unglamorous,
It's
right?
unglamorous. I was always a person who liked the middle bunk. There are people who like the bottom. There are people who like the top. Thank God for the road crew that just broke up the sort of tension that a band can experience just from being on the road.
Yeah.
And
eating, sleeping, breathing each other. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, we were always so smitten with it. Spinal Tap is the best movie about rock and roll. It's the most accurate. I don't mean to be going back to that if I mentioned it earlier.
No, you didn't.
But
you didn't.
Oh, okay. But whenever someone says, "What's it like being in a band?" the answer is watch Spinal Tap.
Oh my God.
The deli tray thing, like who's in here? Like, being, critical of the deli tray, or, because we didn't trash dressing rooms the way boy bands did,
right.
We would sometimes nudge a little bowl of nuts and just off the side table and watch it spill. And then we would clean it up. Quickly clean it up. But it was like, it was just different for girl bands, I think, to some degree. But most of the time, especially being in your 20s and doing it, it's great. It has its ups and downs, but overall, I would say it was a fantastic experience.
I mean, David and I talked about it before you came in, of the memory of the movie Less Than Zero. And
yeah.
Like, what was that? When you make that decision as a band to give a song to a movie, was it a no-brainer, or was it
so there is a story behind it.
Okay.
So I became friends with a really wonderful composer named Tommy Newman. We all called him Tommy Newman. He's done, tons. You can look him up.
Yes.
Tommy Newman.
Scores movies.
He comes from the great Newman family. There's a lot of composers in it. Randy Newman is their cousin. Yeah. Right. So I had become friends with Tommy Newman. He goes by Thomas Newman, but if you look up his scores, you'll be like Shawshank Redemption. I think
amazing.
He did like amazing. So, and I became friends with a movie producer named John Avnet. John was getting ready to produce Less Than Zero. This was like in 87 or something like that. And Tommy said, I should introduce you to John. He really wants wall-to-wall music. I don't want to put words in John Avnet's voice, but it was along those lines. He really wants to have like a ton of music in this movie, have music driving the plot. And, so I went and I met John Avnet, who I've been friends with ever since, and his wife, Barbara. And I pitched Hazy Shade of Winter, which when I was working at my uncle's ceramic factory, the Bangles taking off, I used to listen to the radio, and I heard Hazy Shade of Winter on the AM radio at my job, and I had pitched it to the Bangles, and we had started to play it in our set from time to time.
Who wrote the original? That's not an original Bangles?
Oh, it was Hazy Shade of Winter. It was written by Paul Simon.
Oh my God, I had no idea. Wow.
Yes. Weirdly, the Bangles version of Hazy Shade of Winter became more known than the Paul Simon one.
Oh,
but Paul Simon did the folk rock version. Mm-hmm. And you should find it. It's amazing. It's
I will.
Great acoustic guitar.
A huge Paul Simon fan.
Yeah. So you'll find their version of it. And it might have been a Simon and Garfunkel, but I think it might have been Paul solo, but you'll find it. Mm-hmm. And we actually edited a little section of the song. If you A/B the two versions, you'll see what happened. But Paul forgave us for it. So so I pitched it to John Avnet, who was producing Less Than Zero, and they all fell in love with the idea. And then when it came round to recording it, we were put together with George Drakoulias and Oh, what's his name? Just went out of my
Rick
head.
Rubin.
Rick Rubin. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nice,
Rick Rubin,
Christine.
of course. Because the
yes.
thing was that when we went to the studio, Rick wasn't there too much, but George was steering the ship.
Yes, who's one of our like dearest friends. George is like the
George
biggest teddy bear. He's incredible. Yes.
I adore him. He's one of the great, same. I adore him. So he'll remember that like Rick was probably across the street at the Rainbow Room during that period, dare I say. And George was sort of holding down the fort. And, you know, everybody has their different perspectives. You know, I've read some things that George recalled about that era. I don't know who has the best memory of it.
It's patchwork. It's patchwork.
It is. Right. It's patchwork. Exactly. I love that. Thanks, Christine. I'm going to remember that. So it was like a Rashomon thing. Everybody had a different idea of how it went down. But at the end of the day, we recorded it. I think that I don't remember seeing Rick in the studio. Maybe he was there. Maybe he wasn't. George was definitely there. And the movie people were all like, this is great. And it became kind of enmeshed with Lesson Zero. It became sort of part of the fabric of what that movie was. And I love that movie. It's dark. Oh, it's really dark, but it's, and
have
then
you ever read the book? I'm sorry, the Bret Easton Ellis book?
I have, because I went on Bret's podcast and we talked about it at length. I went to where he lives, and it was such a great. I think he did a 2-part on our. I think he turned it into 2 parts because we had so much to talk about.
Oh my God, we have to listen to this, David.
I didn't know Bret has a podcast. He's one of my favorite authors.
He's so good, and also one of my best friends, this girl Brick Smith, who was in a band called The Fall. In England, she moved from Chicago to England. She was went to Bennington too. I think Bret went to Bennington, so I think they knew each other. But anyway, there were all these connections between all kind of having something to do with Less Than Zero. Yeah. There just became this whole universe.
That song fits the movie so perfectly. Like the book, to me, when I moved to California, when I moved to LA, there was such a mystique to this whole city and this whole lifestyle. And that book represented it to me, right? These like lost youth of the 80s with endless money, endless drugs and access, and how messed up they were. I was fascinated by it. And the song has that same vibe, that ethereal, otherworldly, like we're going to take you to another place right now.
Yeah, and weirdly, the ethereal part of the beginning of Hazy Shade of Winter that's kind of got this weird out of time thing. Rick Rubin said, "Get rid of that. It's too girly or something." I don't know. I don't want to use that word and not have it right. But we ended up keeping it.
What does Rick Rubin know?
Oh, whatever happened to that guy?
Whatever happened to
I think he's in Malibu somewhere.
I feel like I've talked about this before, David, on the podcast, but Susanna, did you watch the We Are the World documentary?
Oh, I haven't watched it, but I want to.
Oh my God.
It's gonna bring back so many memories of that period of the 80s.
And Paul
oh my God.
is in it, and it just reminds me of like everybody's. It just you would know that world so well from that period of time. Like it felt.
I've just been watching the Piano Man one.
Billy Joel.
Sorry. Yeah, I stayed up way too late and watching it, and I'm not done. But wasn't it great?
Oh, it's next
the
on our
most
list.
enjoyable thing I've seen in years.
Isn't it so moving and uplifting, all, you know, and all at the same time, to like, and how honest and open.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to watch it.
Yeah,
really
he
good.
goes there. He definitely goes there.
Yeah. It's super compelling. Yeah. Yeah.
The song Manic Monday, I think, is still so relevant. Everybody knows it and relates to it. I read that. Was that written by Prince?
Oh, yeah. So Prince had seen us in our first video. a song called Hero Takes a Fall. And he really liked the song. It was kind of a rocker. Vicky and I wrote it together. I sang lead on it. And it was our first real video. We had a video director and we were on tour. So we filmed the video in San Francisco, and each of the kind of conceit of it was that each Bangle was going to dress up in, different outfits. And somebody was, I'm trying to remember, Vicky wore a cowgirl hat. Mickey and Debbie wore different things, but I wore a French maid's outfit.
Oh God.
And I was like dusting, and all of them, it was oh my God, if you watch this video for Hero Takes a Fall, it is like peak 80s cheese.
Oh, okay.
Video.
I gotta
like
but also
there's
peak
a mannequin.
I gotta watch.
There's literally in it a mannequin with a head slow motion falling to the ground and scattering into pieces. Right? So it's just like, but my scene was also, we were all playing with mannequins. So mine was in a bed, like a guy, I think it's a mannequin with a mustache maybe. And I'm dusting him off in a French maid's outfit. Well, apparently Prince saw me with the feather duster and the maid's outfit. And he was like, who is that? And so word got around to my management. Whoa, sorry, guys. I got too excited over the story. Woo! I knocked over my phone.
It's a good one.
So somehow he wanted to meet me, and then he gave me Manic Monday. He sent over a cassette, and I picked it up from him at Sunset Sound. I'd already met him briefly. He's very mysterious.
Yeah, was he? That's what I was going to ask. Like, what was that exchange? Just sort of like elusive and...
Yes, elusive is the right word.
Right?
But he really was a fan of the band, and he really was so happy with how Manic Monday came out when we recorded it, because he was very used to people taking his tracks. I still have the cassette that he sent, but we recorded it like we were recording a Bangles song that we were covering. So it was our own version, but he was really happy with it, and that made me happy. And then he would show up on stage all the time. There were times that he invited us over to his house. He kind of was hunkered down at Sunset Sound on Sunset Boulevard. That's an iconic studio. And the Bangles recorded there. He had a whole room dedicated to himself and did a lot of stuff in the 80s there. But it was just quite something. Anytime I was ever in his orbit, Prince's orbit, it was always interesting. Somewhere somewhat eccentric in vibe, I don't know if that's proper grammar, but he was brilliant. And when I had that opportunity to do the Grammy salute to Prince, and Misty Copeland was there, the ballerina that he had worked with, it was just me and Chris Martin, and he played piano, and I just sat across from him and sang. It was a really tender version. That was also a highlight, honoring Prince.
Oh my God. I got to look that up.
Which makes me sort of choke up thinking about that he was gone. But that night was one of the most beautiful nights of my life. And I owe so much to Chris. I'm not a person who plays big venues. Those days with the Bangles, we don't really tour much. And when we do, they're not at the convention center. You know what I mean? Right. And Chris was so kind to me. He knew how nervous I was. We were all in trailers in the parking lot. And he said, come here. I'm going to help you get prepared. And he said, let's do it really fast. And we did a fast version of Manic Monday, and let's do it really slow. And he just got rid of my yayas, or whatever you call it, my nerves.
Oh my God.
And I was so grateful to him. He was like shepherding me through the whole thing and keeping me calm. What a guy. I couldn't believe it. He was so nice to me.
What stadium was it? Where did you play that?
It was at the convention center, I think.
In
was
LA?
Called. In LA.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the Grammy people brought me back to do the Paul Simon one. So that was cool. And that was at the Wiltern, I think, a couple of years later. So I've been really lucky that the Grammy people have, reached out to me.
That's amazing.
It's always a big honor, so.
Well, you guys made a big mark in the history of music. I mean, for not only for 80s music, but for female rock bands.
Yeah.
I mean, right? It was,
There's not that many of us,
Go-Go's.
really.
No,
the Shags, but they were from a long time ago, and they weren't really like a band like the Go-Go's or the Bangles. Right. But yes.
Yeah, you guys were badass pioneers.
Thank you. I'm so glad that there's more all-girl bands popping up. I need to get more like aware of who's doing what, but like where they are and which bands I should listen to. I've been so busy recording and writing new songs that it's taken me away from my listening practice.
Yes.
Yeah. I just recorded or wrote a song before I got on this Zoom with my friend Jesse Harris, who wrote, I don't know why, for Norah Jones. I don't know that's if you know that song.
Love Norah.
And he's really, really, and then my friend CJ, who I've been making music with, he's the one who works closely with Paul Simon on stuff. So it's been really fun.
Is this the first time you've sat down to write a new album in a while?
Yeah, it is actually. So it's the thing I look forward to. When it's a day that the people I'm either writing with or recording with aren't here, I kind of wander around the house going, please come back. Why did you leave?
What is my mission
today?
Yeah,
what do I do without you guys? No, but it's good. It's good. I luckily there's been a lot of it. And I just love being around musicians too. They're just so fun. It's probably kind of reminiscent of being on a set with actors or something. While you're doing a movie, you get to the camaraderie that blooms, right?
Yes. The sense of community. It's like we've all talked about, it's not even so much the actual scenes you're doing, it's the in-between moments. It's when they say cut and everyone goes and sits and waits for the camera to get set up for the next shot and everyone's just sitting around and you start to just get to talk shop and talk. Like you said, like chit chat and
connection.
Connection. But we can't gloss over because you're talking about music and you wrote a novel that This Bird Has Flown that I read last summer.
Thank you, Christine.
Oh my God. It was a huge hit. It was a huge success. It was a bestseller. I feel like had this been something you had wanted to do, or was something that, because it's about a musician, it's about an artist. It's, of course, when I was reading it, I was thinking it like in the character, I was picturing that it was younger you. As I was reading it. But it's such it was like, I think I read it in like 3 days, like just sitting in Hawaii over the summer, I think that was the last time I saw you, was maybe at a book party for it in New York.
No, it was in New York when I did the Strand.
Yes.
And I played a little music. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for bringing up This Bird Has Flown.
Yes.
I had always dreamed of writing a novel. I never took a class or anything. I just read a lot of books and I get inspired by them. So it was almost like a bucket list thing. Yeah. I just started the sequel not long ago, but I've been juggling all this music making.
That's what I was going to ask.
But I don't know how I sat down, I wrote, my best friend Margie, writes YA novels. And so she, could kind of, when I got confused about like plot things every once in a while and I needed somebody else, because it's a very solo endeavor, writing a novel. You spend hours and hours and hours alone disappearing into your fictional world, which is like child's play. It's like being a kid again.
Oh my God.
Because you're just making shit up.
But it also feels very daunting. Like when you just like very like.
But you become obsessed. You become obsessed. You become like a zealot for like, how do I find time? And then you have to make time. Yeah. You just really have to make time because you have to disappear for hours in it. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I just been a reader my whole life. And so I would just learn from books and sort of somehow I digested the ideas in some way and spit them out in a different way. But I didn't know what I was doing at all. I mean, I have massive amounts of like drafts, several that I've printed out that are like so ancient versions of the book.
Yeah.
But I just kind of, because Margie would read it, and then she put me together with her agent, who's amazing, Sarah Burns, who's based on the East Coast and has, she has been the editor for so many great books. But between Margie and Sarah, they read drafts of my book and sort of like kind of helped me in when I would get stuck on something. And mostly it was like literally several years just sitting alone at a desk inside my imagination and disappearing for hours,
several years.
Several years. Well, it takes years to write a novel. It really does.
I remember Jay telling, because I did a series for Apple that Jay directed with Patricia Arquette. It was a few years ago. It was just one season that Jay directed. High Desert. Yes, shout out to. But Jay was, and I remember saying, "How's Sue?" And he's like, writing a novel and just doing it. And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean, like writing a novel?" And he said, she is all in, Christy. Like she takes hours and hours and she just writes and writes. And it's like and I just remember like how in awe he was of you doing it. Cause he's like, no. Like, it's like, like she's really doing this. It's like, she's not, it was, and I couldn't wait to like know what was, I had assumed that it was going to have some, you always write what you know, or a lot of people do, or somewhere deep down.
What's the story that you wanted to tell?
It's about a one-hit wonder that you find at a low point because she's just been cheated on by a boyfriend in LA, and she gets sent by her British manager to do what we call a private gig, which people don't know about, but in Vegas. And it turns out, so it starts off with her having to perform at this bachelor party and open for a stripper. So it's kind of like the lowest of the low. Right. Like she's finally she's been dumped by the boyfriend. She's very aware of that. But then she runs into kind of like a Harry Styles guy who happens to see her performance because he's a fan of that one hit. Yeah. That one hit was the song that helped him through adolescence or something like that. I never wrote the song. I just keep in the book describing what it is, but you don't really ever know.
Right.
I actually, if the film adaptation happens, and I think it's looking like it will, then I'll have to someone will have to write that song, or I'll have to write one hit.
Original music.
Yeah. So, but it was just, I didn't really know what I was doing. I read certain books that would excite me when I would just read the language of it. And I keep lists of words and phrases that you can use, because I didn't know anything about writing a novel. I knew about writing songs, but a song is a 3-minute experience. A novel is like a 300-page experience.
And an entire, right? That you have to beginning, a middle, and an end, and all, know, but you mentioned earlier on, and I know I don't want to keep you because you've been so generous with your time, but earlier on you said, I haven't really, I need to do Largo or someplace.
Yeah, I want to.
How do you, and you talked about the nerves of doing the big Grammy event, but do you get nervous performing by yourself, even at a small venue? Is that even a part of it anymore? Or is it just so natural to you that you feel okay?
I think that I do get nervous, but I think That's such a good question.
Especially as a solo art, like especially as like honestly, you like where they said just bring your guitar, but it's for the book of like I would be like what.
I have to kind of like I have to kind of do like almost like Superman thing where you take like okay,
you become a different
this is
person.
Sue human being, and then this is Sue who's going to read a passage and hopefully get it like a good version of reading it.
Right.
Or, this is, it's more starkly apparent when I have to go on stage to sing.
Right.
So it's me like pacing around the dressing room going, why am I here? How did I get here? Why am I doing this?
Why did I say yes?
I go, then you just take off, the Lois Lane thing and you put on the, whatever, I forget, the Superman costume, Supergirl costume. And you just go, fuck it, man.
Yeah. I'm just going to do it.
But now it's more like, I won't use the expletive. I'll say, blah, I'm just free to be me. That's what I want to call my Largo show upcoming if I ever get to doing it.
I love that.
I want to. I just am me. I get, this is all I can be anymore. Like, I love all these things. We can do things I love. Let's sing some songs. Let's talk. Let's have a Q&A.
Right. And not worry about what it's going to be perceived as or titled or...
I'm just a human. I'm a human being.
Right.
Just sort of walking my way through this life, this journey.
Yeah.
On a journey. We're all on a journey.
Yep.
Just walking like an Egyptian through life.
Hey!
Oh, you see what I did?
I see what you did. No, that's how you do. No, you do that. I can't remember how to do it. I can't remember.
Oh my gosh.
Been too long.
Oh, thank you so much for
this was so great.
Taking a break from recording because now you can go back to your people and you can you took a break to sort of talk to us a little bit about it and be creative with us, but now you get to go back to creating your own magic, and I just think you're the bestest. So thank you.
You're the bestest, both of you. And I'm so grateful to have been invited to hang out with you and to be on the show. It was a true honor. So thank you both so much.
I am loving these interviews so much.
She's so special. I mean, she is really special. I mean, how in an hour or a little over an hour that we had with her, can you even begin to cover everything, all of the albums, all of the stories? But I feel like she gave us such a broad strokes look at like what her life was without, I mean, she's literally so humble and has so much, like you would never think she was like one of the biggest rock bands, women rock bands, any rock band of the 80s for sure.
Yeah,
and
she
has just
kept
sustained.
She keeps it real, like very down to earth. Like she says, the touring was a grind. She doesn't even really remember most of it. Just hotel rooms opening and closing and rushing onto a stage for a long time. But the highlights she gave us. I mean, Prince having a cassette for a song made for them. Oh, wow.
I mean,
like incredible.
Yes. And the Paul Simon story and just, the
Grammy performances.
I know. She's just really neat. And I love her. That's something that really sticks with me too, from when we, first got to know each other 25 years ago, during the whole Meet the Parents experience because we would go on all these press tours together. Like, when the movie was opening in Japan, Sue and Jay and Ben and I and my brother came, and we all did these like trips like around the world together when the movie was opening. And so we got to go to like, when Jay and Ben had to do press, Sue and I would go like to the market in Tokyo, and we just had all of these incredible, like, and for me, it was that like, that moment, it wasn't like I stopped realizing that this is Susanna Hoffs, who I like just grew up loving and idolized, but she's just so easy to be around. And she really loves people. She loves talking and learning about people's lives. And I do think so much of that But what I was going back to that stuck with me was how incredible her family was growing up and her parents.
Yeah, that makes all the difference.
I mean, that's it's just everything.
That's why she's so grounded. What a fun way to have a relationship with someone on like a press tour around the world where you're just exploring new cities.
And just like we were the wives. We got
Which is more fun. Yeah, you get to enjoy
fun stuff. I know. But it was like I just loved everything about her. I just always thought she was the coolest. So to get to know her and for her to come on and share some of that with our audience was so awesome. And definitely get her book. It's really great. Jill will love it.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm going to tell Jill about it.
Hannah,
I can't wait to read that.
Get it for Hannah. It's a great gift. Get them. It'd be a good gift for you. Do you have any birthdays
The bird
or anything
has
coming?
flown.
It's always fun. This bird has flown.
I will send them to Hannah and to Jill, and I'll read it myself. I'm really,
sure.
I've been reading a lot.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for us. Oh, okay, that's it. I'm going to do this. David usually does this part. Okay, everybody. So here we go. Remember to follow us at Hey Dude, the 90s Called. Watch us on YouTube. And of course, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And as David says, anyone you know who isn't already listening or watching this podcast, share it.
Yes, please share these episodes. Spread, it helps us.
Share the 90s wealth. Come on. We're all nostalgic for the 90s. So anyway, thank you, everybody, and come back next week.
Yay Media Group.